from another mother, Billy Sheehan!
Welcome to Musings, Rants, and Guitars, and today we have as a special guest Billy Sheehan.
All right.
Welcome, Billy.
Billy, how are you?
Thanks for having me.
Right, it's an honor, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
My
thank you
pleasure.
very much
Thank
for coming
you.
on.
Right on. All right, what do you got?
Well, you are something special, man. I was, as we said before, I was a bass player, and then I had to give it up because I watched you live a couple times, and I'm like, oh, fuck this. I can't do that. So thanks for making me switch to at least guitar. So I thought the guitar might be easier. And then I had to follow Tommy. So sorry.
Well, it's a much more glory instrument. Us bass players are always, it's like the catcher on a baseball team. You work every pitch you got to deal with, So
Absolutely.
Guitar is much more glory.
Yeah. And it seems like you might have played with a couple of bands that people have heard of. So that's pretty good.
Here and there. I was in and out of a few bands,
Yeah, a couple of them. You played with a couple of good guitar players there too. Wow.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I guess some great musicians that I've worked with, and they all, we all influence each other to some degree when you're out on the road and touring or working on records or songs, and
yeah.
It's been pretty cool. I guess. From early times, I started getting matched up with guitar players that were of significant reputation. Anyway, when Yngwie came to America, the first thing we were going to do was to start a band with me. It's going to be myself, Yngwie, and who's the drummer that played in Journey that sings so good?
Dean Castronova.
Dean Castronova. He was in a band called the Wild Dog. So that was the original idea.
Wow.
It didn't come to be, but that's originally why Yngwie came to America. It's funny.
Wow.
That
one I didn't know.
Yeah, we did not know that one. We'd gone back and Lenny and I had talked about seeing Talus back in New York and stuff. A couple of years ago.
At L'Amour's?
Yeah, L'Amour's.
Yes, the one in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And just being floored, and then a friend of mine who was going to college up in Buffalo was like, "Oh yeah, I see those guys all the time." I'm like, "Really? I mean, this is the local band from Buffalo." It blew me away, man.
Well, didn't Talus actually wind up opening up for Yngwie in one of his early tours?
Yeah, the summer of '85 was his first, I think, tour as a solo artist across the USA, and we got signed to the William Morris Agency, so we were the opening act for that. And then our first show was in LA, and the day before I'd had a meeting with David Lee Roth, so I knew that I was going to quit the band, but I couldn't tell anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to do that whole tour, knowing at the end of that tour, I'm gone and I'm out to LA. So it was pretty hard to not say anything about it. I'm playing with David Lee Roth.
I know, exactly.
Wow.
Guys, I can't wait to tell you something. I can't tell you now.
Well, so what was that whole experience like? Like I know, Talus played a bunch of the clubs like the Buffalo circuit. You did a bunch of covers, you did a bunch of Van Halen stuff, and then you wound up getting the call to open for Van Halen on their 1980 Invasion tour.
Yeah.
How in the
world did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, we were in Buffalo. We were a pretty big band, so sometimes if a band needed an opening act, if they had low ticket sales, or in the case of opening for UFO, they were stuck at the Canadian border while they were on tour with AC/DC. They couldn't get across, so AC/DC came and played. Then UFO came and played on their own. They wanted a little boost for ticket sales, so they had us open up. That's how I met Michael Schenker. Ended up working with him on his first record, and then later on also played with UFO.
Right.
But the promoter in Buffalo that was doing all that was Harvey and Corky Productions. Harvey and Corky were the two guys, and they brought in all the big bands, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and the Who, and everybody. They were the big promoter for Buffalo, New York, and a lot of the Northeast also. So by default, they became our managers, and so they were in close with the booking agencies. And Barbara Skydell was the name of the woman who handled Harvey and Corky, their account. So she was close with Van Halen, and she said, we need an opening slot for Van Halen. We need a band. So Harvey submitted our tape, and we got it. I guess it did go directly to the band, and Ed heard it and said, yeah, let's have him on as an opening act. So it's kind of nice to know that the band personally okayed.
Yeah.
But so that got us in, and we did about 30 shows with them. 40 years ago, actually, October 3rd was the 40-year anniversary of our first show with Van Halen.
Wow.
So I posted about it, and but the side story, which I won't get into, Harvey is Harvey Weinstein.
Wow. No kidding.
Wow.
We don't know who that is. So we're just going to go with who?
So the only thing I can say about that is I'm kind of proud that at the end of our relationship with Harvey and I, we ended up kind of mortal.
Absolutely.
I'm glad about that,
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Wow.
Well, get you what opened like 30 or 40 shows for them on that tour?
yeah, about 30 shows.
Okay. I just want to bring something up that you had posted on your website was, or I guess it was around Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm going to show everybody a picture. This picture.
Yeah.
And, for years, we're going to go with this. All being Van Halen freaks, you look at every picture, what kind of guitar is Eddie holding and all that. I've always wondered whose hand was that? You can't really see it, but there's like a finger.
Yeah.
And then as it turns out, just a little of actually, I think this year, it's Billy Sheehan.
Pretty funny.
I thought it was cool. I just wanted to share.
They were great. They were so nice to us. They let us do a couple encores, a couple places we played, and the place went nuts. And they let us do encores. And Patrick Whitley was their stage production manager.
Yes.
He later worked for David Lee Roth when I was with Dave. And wonderful guy. And they were all friendly to us. And it was an incredible experience. I tell people, so what was it like? I said, it's like getting a PhD in Showbiz 101. And man, it was like a military operation. They rolled in and they conquered wherever they went. It was quite awesome.
One city after another.
Say again?
Wow.
That's one city after another.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We did some shows on the West Coast. We did San Diego, Oakland. We did shows in Florida. We did mostly tertiary markets at that time. Was the end of that tour, the last leg of that tour. But again, quite an experience, and I got to speak with Ed quite a bit, Dave a little bit, and the other guys a bit too. So pretty awesome.
Sure. And did they, of course, saw the kind of talent that you were doing, and was that like a thing where Dave said, you know what, I'm going to get this guy?
Well, nobody said anything to me at that point, but at the end of the tour, I didn't want to ask Ed for his phone number because I was like, I thought that'd be a little too much. Hey, Ed, give me your phone number. What? Security, throw him out of here. So I'm just standing around talking with him. And he had a card that Valerie had given him. He started going out with Valerie Bertinelli. It was like a little Hallmark card that, I love you, baby, kind of thing. And he had it in his hand. And he ripped a chunk of it off and wrote his phone number down and gave it to me. He goes, here's my phone number, but don't tell Michael.
Oh.
I still got it. I still have that little piece with his phone number on it. So I think at the time that didn't really mean all of that. He didn't want Mike to know I'm talking to Ed because Mike would maybe feel bad. But then later on, we did speak about me possibly playing in the band. And then at one point, he asked me, what would you do if I asked you to join Van Halen? I said I would be on the first plane out to LA, and we shook hands. And then that same tour, a couple days later, they played in another city close by. I went, and Dave mentioned to me, yeah, I heard you were talking with Ed. You know, when this tour is done, we'll be speaking with you. So I thought, wow. So I remember they of course, Blabbermouth, the sewer of the septic tank of the internet. Yeah. They posted, Billy Sheehan turned down offers from Van. And then I said, I never had an actual offer. In other words, they never wrote up on paper what the deal would be. So there was no offer. But yes, they did ask me to join the band. No, there wasn't an offer. So all the doofuses to comment, how could he have an offer without? So it's got to be all bullshit. When in fact, you know, when you buy a house, you make an offer. Sometimes it's not accepted, and you have no house. So that's actually how it went down. And several times later, I went up to after Sammy had first left the band. I went up to Ed's studio on Coldwater Canyon in Studio City, and Ed, Al, and myself jammed. And when they left his phone message, and I kept them all. I'll never play them for anybody because they're private, but you know, the music was on in the background, and he was all excited about us playing. So several times things like that happened, but I'm just glad that they even knew who the hell I was. So, and I love Michael, and as much as I was excited to even be in the same room with any of those guys, I love Michael, and he's awesome, and it wouldn't be Van Halen without him, you know. So it was a tough spot for me. As much as I wanted it, you know, it's like your best friend's girlfriend likes you, and she's hot. You're like, yeah, but she's his girlfriend, so you don't want to, you know, it puts you in a tough place. So, but I love Michael, and I love all those guys, and that they had any association with any of them ever, I'm supremely grateful.
Oh, that's fantastic. Like now, you not that long ago played with Michael at we
played together. He's always been so great. As a matter of fact, sadly, Ken Hensley passed away recently, and it was Ken Hensley's show. Yeah. And Michael and I went out. We did Easy Living, and Michael and I with High Harmonies, and we played with Ken Hensley. So I'm the only guy in the world that's played with every member of Van Halen.
Yes.
Wow.
I did a tour with Gary Cherone, with Mike Portnoy and Paul Gilbert doing the tribute.
Good God.
Jammed with Sammy Hagar at a special event for a young lady that was friends of ours that had passed away, and also Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I was there one time, and one of the guys in my little class said, why don't you jam with Billy Sheehan? I'm like, oh, don't say that. And so Sammy says, well, come on up. And I came up, and he goes, what Montrose songs you know? And I go, all of them. So we played, I think, Space Station No. 5 and Rock Candy. Oh man, it was great. I love that album so much.
Yeah.
Oh, that album is outrageous. It really is. Man. That's a great.
I played with Dave, and then I played with Ed and Al up at the house, and I even played with Wolfie, but I didn't play music. We did the Jason Becker benefit. Myself, Ed Van Halen,
Steve Lukather.
And Pat Torpey on drums.
Yeah.
So coming home, Ed said to me, hey, if you want to, I'm taking a private jet. You want to come with me? And I said, yeah, sure do.
The answer to the private jet is always yes. It's always yes.
All right. You know. But
twist my arm, right?
So he stopped in Salt Lake City and picked up Wolfie because the Valerie was shooting something there. So the flight to L.A., Ed wanted to sleep, so I took Wolfie, and I had a pen and some paper, and we did some drawing games and number counting, and you know, and so I played with him, but I didn't play music with him.
Wow,
that's great.
Wow,
what a trip! So it was quite a dark day last month when we lost him. That was tough. That was a tough one.
Yeah, that was a true kick in the gut, and you know, you were close with him, and did you know he was that ill, or?
What we knew was it went silent, and so when it goes quiet, it's not good.
Right.
So I wasn't, you know, I'm not best buddies, and
right.
we're associates in business more than anything else. We're in the same business, but we knew it was quiet, and that wasn't a good sign. Similar with Neil Peart, it kind of suddenly we didn't.
Yeah,
hear
that went quiet. That went.
Yeah.
And David
really
Bowie
quiet.
too, same thing. You didn't hear anything from a while, and we lost him. So sad. It was just awful. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy, and for me, before I got signed, before I joined with Dave, before when I was still playing bars in Buffalo with Tallis and playing L'Amours and stuff, we were struggling, and there's no real end in sight and no real hope other than whatever you can generate within yourself that you're going to get somewhere someday.
Yeah.
There were thousands of guys in their same position that are gone now. They don't play anymore, so you never know. So the fact that Ed had been kind enough to me, talked to me, spoke to me about possibly playing with him was that little spark of enthusiasm that even in my darkest days got me through it. That no matter what, the big guy said I was okay. So
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
going to keep pushing forward. So that to me, that was probably the most valuable thing that kept me going, that got me to a point in my career that it became a really worthwhile thing to me. So I have Ed to thank for that very, very much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very good.
Definite times that we needed to be told that to stick with it. I mean,
Yeah.
not just to have someone acknowledge, especially at that level.
Exactly.
Tell you that. I mean, there were a couple of people who said things to me that stayed with me too. And
Yeah.
even just though I'm not doing it as professionally as I would like to anymore. It's just that those are the things you hold on to. But for Edward, that's amazing. God bless you, Matt. I'd say.
Yeah, and I pay it forward all the time, man. I'm always telling people, even if you're not in a band or with a record deal or play, you gotta play. It's enjoyable. It's great. Do it.
Absolutely.
And somebody sends me a little, little bass thing or guitar thing or song. I'll always give them a positive, even if it's awful. There's probably something about it that's positive. So
Hey, they're doing it right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you're doing it. Anybody who I encourage to is the same thing. You're putting something into it. It's not as if you're just not putting it into it. So they spend time going, okay, they got a new bend, right?
Dig it.
And they're like, that's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, why? I really don't see the point of going up or commenting. Hey, you suck. You're awful. That's horrible. I hate. It's really, and especially musicians. We're a pretty tight knit group.
Yeah.
And it was good to support each other. So I know people that I don't think are that good, but I'm not. I say, hey, bro, that song sounded good, or man, you hit your mark right on it. That was great. Oh man, your tonality is great, or you can think of something positive.
There's
That's
always
true.
something.
That's true. I'm not going to necessarily
Absolutely.
lie. And sometimes if there's something awful, I'll say, here, look, here's what you got to do. I see what you're doing here with writing the song, but let's take it apart piece by piece and see where we're going. We need like a verse and a chorus, maybe a bridge too. But let's get to build the verse as a verse, the chorus as a chorus, and let's get to work. And I'll help them out, and I'll show them what I mean. And then later on, hey, they got kind of a song,
Right.
something that was a catastrophe. There's always room to fix it. And players coming to me too that can barely play, and I say, okay, here's what you need to do. I was there too. I was right where you are now, and here's how you can turn that around. So I enjoy, in a way, it's paying it forward from what Ed did for me. That enthusiasm and spark. I try to ignite it in as many places as I can.
yeah, but you could definitely hear it in how you're expressing it now. I mean, and to come from you to anybody is huge, and I think that would be something they would carry, like you said, playing it forward. I think it would definitely
encouragement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
huge.
Yeah, why
had
not?
a,
There's some Buddhist quote about, and I heard that it wasn't a Buddhist quote, but the idea that the light of a single candle can light 10,000 other candles and never diminish its own flame.
Exactly.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly what we need to do.
So why not say, great, bro, it sounded great, man. Nice. I like what you're doing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Why not?
Absolutely.
What, does it damage you by saying that?
No,
Or you
no.
wave to someone and they don't wave back. So what? Are you hurt by that? hey, how you doing? And they kind of snub you. So what? Don't let it stop you from saying hello.
No, because the next person you could very much make their day.
Exactly right.
And same thing with musically. I mean, just touching people and saying, okay, here, like you said, we can work on this. This is your idea. This is good. Let's bring it to the next level.
Absolutely.
And that would give me chills. Just gave me chills now thinking about it.
Yeah, and I hear in my iTunes, I collect a lot of music, and I specialize in the most amazing stuff that'll blow your mind completely, and the worst stuff you could possibly imagine. That how you could imagine there was an engineer in the room that went, "Good, that's a take." You know,
Wow,
impossible.
you have some of my recordings, I see.
But when you listen to it in that manner, and then a lot of demos by bands that turned into real songs by that band later. And the demos, I got the 8 Miles High by the Byrds, was the first single I ever bought. And the 12-string lead guitar solo is one of my favorite musical things.
Yeah.
The demo, it is a catastrophe. It is playing and it's just awful. I mean, but friends look at me. This couldn't possibly be. It's a demo. I swear to God.
It's entirely possible.
But where they eventually took it was genius, and it started off pretty rough. At some point, somebody could have said, "No, let's not do a solo in this song. Let's just keep singing." But fortunately, and that was quite a mind blowing solo. So anyway,
Come back tomorrow with something.
So before we go too far, I have a whole bunch of people shouting out on the channel.
Great.
We have David says hi, David Rossman. We have Elaine. We have Russ Pizzuto from Dee Snider's band.
Russ, all right.
He's
Great.
the bass player. We had him up a few weeks ago.
right.
So he is on. Matt Levine says hi. Frank Tassielli is a bass player. He actually plays with Tommy. He was actually wanted to ask you about the solo in Elephant Gun. Could you tell him anything about it?
Yeah, we were working on that song in Dave's basement, and I'll make it a little more audible here.
Cool.
And Steve did this wacky line with it, and it was, and the way to do that line, Steve was kind of using his hands across here. Now guitar strings are thin and a little light, like little Velveeta cheese cutter. It's a thin little thing. The bass strings are big and fat. So to do that, it was a challenge. So Dave came down and heard Steve play that lick, and he goes, "Oh, cool, that's cool." He goes, "Billy, you double it." And I go, "Uh-oh." So Dave went back upstairs and goes, "Steve, how in the world?" So I had to, he showed me, and I figured it out, of course, eventually, But it was funny that when I first heard it, I thought, "Oh, good, that's Steve's spot there. I'll hang back here and keep doing and keep doing my little thing." So it was kind of an odd arrangement where the bass is playing those 16th notes, those little things, and Steve is playing a riding bass line on his low E string, and it was kind of cool. We were composing that stuff. Steve and Greg and I would be downstairs fooling around doing stuff, and Dave would come down and go, "Hey, I like that. That's cool. That could be a verse. Now come up with a chorus that fits it." Go back upstairs, come up, "Good chorus. Okay, give me a bridge. All right, I don't know, a solo section. Okay," and then he'd record it on his cassette, get in his car, drive around, come up with lyrics, bang, let's go to another song. So we wrote most everything on Eat 'Em and Smile like that, other than the songs that were brought in by other people. But basically that little thing. It was odd for me to play it because I would never on bass you got to kind of hit a note and then pull it off. You wouldn't just hit a note out of nowhere because but as a result you have to hit it so hard to make it work. So I'm not sure if that was the beginning of that, but then I realized, well, if you can do that, because I was never doing stuff like that where I would let that finger floating around by itself just jam itself on the fretboard and make a note. I would usually have a note going on already and then move that one because the string's already vibrating. Hope I'm not losing too many people with this, but
No,
Great.
the people are loving this.
But so from then on, I realized that you can just hit a note, hit anywhere, and so I started doing these octave. So it allowed me the freedom of knowing that you could just hit the bass and there's a note there with your right hand. And again, on bass, it's a more strength oriented instrument, though there are many smaller stature people and women that play bass amazingly. But it's more of though it requires strength, it requires you to fine tune that strength into a finesse. Just like hitting a snare drum. I've noticed these big muscular guys, I hit the snare drum and it's this big. And then Roxy Petrucci from Vixen, back, weighs about 90 pounds, hits the thing and blows your head off. You know, so it's a finesse with strength. So that was one of the first times I started to just pick a note out of anywhere and just hit it with my right hand and make it work. So that's
awesome.
My story, sad but true.
That is great.
Awesome.
Great.
Frank, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And Russ wanted me to pass on that he got your EBS pedal too. So he had that to his rig. So
excellent. Yeah, I did a pedal with the EBS company. It's a Swedish company, and
yeah,
for years I had a dual amp setup because they had the dual output on my bass.
Yeah.
Right.
And one is just all low frequency.
Yep.
But the other one has all the all that high nonsense.
Yeah.
But what that is it's a composition of two sounds. It's a clean bass tone and a distorted bass tone. Just distortion alone, you kind of lose what the note is. It just turns into fuzz. But the clean mixed in there, it actually you can tell what note it is, and the fuzz acts as more character and harmonics. So the EBS pedal is a way to get those two sounds out of one pickup, do it and mix them together again later, and kind of get this tone where they're mixed. Where a lot of times if you start distorting a bass, you lose all your low frequencies and it sounds thin and wispy. If you remember on Dance to the Music by Sly and the Family Stone, when they say, I'm going to add some bottom to the dancers, just won't hide. And that, it's really a thin, buzzy, it's a real, not any low end to it, because when you distort a bass, you lose the low end. It was a cool part, and I loved it, and it was iconic, amazing, Sly and the Family Stone. But you see, that kind of illustrates the point there. So the EBS pedal helps with that.
Wow.
So they were able to basically take your entire rig and kind of put it in a pedal.
A large part of it, yeah. The main concept behind it, yeah. And and it's funny because sometimes there's a clean sound and a distorted sound, and they mix together. And there's so many people, they got the clean sound perfect, but the distorted is awful. Hey, they got the distortion part perfect, but the clean is awful. But the EBS pickup, they're both very nice, and when they meld together, and you could use it. And I often encourage people that don't play like me, don't want to sound like me, aren't into me at all. This could be a unique, cool thing for others because there's so many variables you can do on that. For a slap player, just give it a little sizzle on the top of that with the distortion. It'd be a cool sound, So we made it to be not just for me, but for anybody that might be interested in doing some new variations on what they're doing.
So now there's a drive pedal, and then there's a deluxe drive.
Yeah, there's actually been 3 versions of it.
And the octo bass, right?
No, there's no octave thing on it. The first one was purple, the second one was orange, the third one is this color blue. And I guess they just wanted to keep fine tuning it. The first one was great. I was fine with that. They go, well, we should do another one with a more advanced. Okay, if you want. And it wasn't nearly my idea as much as they wanted to go further with it. And then they came up with the third one, was that let's call it the ultimate, because how can you do more than the ultimate? So at least there, it'll stay there for a while. It's pretty funny.
Wow. That's awesome.
Good.
Cool.
So we were kind of talking about this as we were talking about you before you came on. You had the great talent, you got a great look, and then your stage presence. I mean, you were like one of the first bass players that really had that amazing stage presence. I mean, Steve Harris as well, but man, you're your own thing. I mean,
right. You came out and just really, really brought the show. I mean, maybe it's from the bar days. How did that develop?
You're no Bill Wyman.
Well, it's just it's funny because I hear recently somebody, actually a guitar player that I know, talking about the face that you have to make when you're playing.
Oh yeah.
And I go,
we all have that.
Yeah.
I hate that because I never make a face when I'm playing. However, you use photos of me, I make it all kind, but I'm never consciously going, oh, I'm going to look like this for this note, and go, oh. It's analogous to when you hear a joke and it's hilarious and you stop and you go, wait, how am I going to laugh? Should I do ha ha ha? Or maybe hee hee hee? What do you think? Oh, maybe ho 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 I'll do. You don't. It's got to be completely natural. So if you're in Japan, it bothers me sometimes because of the rehearsal halls. One wall is a mirror. So the bands are always watching themselves. I go, oh my God, that's just awful. I don't like that at all. I don't think Hendrix ever practiced a move or stood in front of the mirror and said, if I go like this, it might look cool. Never. It just happened in the moment. So that's pretty much what happened to me. I remember I was kind of shy on stage at one point when I very first beginning, about 1970 or so. And one night I went out with a bunch of guys outside of the club. We had a few drinks and something just kind of came over me. I don't know. And I wanted to play and I just went for it. And it was like that ever since. I never really, it was never choreographed or planned or thought out, or I should do this now. Now I'll spin around. It was never. And I think, not to belabor the subject, but Ed Van Halen was too. I mean, I think Dave encouraged him to do more, but I don't think he ever sat around and choreographed anything. So that whole idea of you got to put the face on, I don't like that at all. It really bothers me because it's anytime you see me going, I'm actually doing that. I'm actually going
right.
So
in the moment.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't like it. Sometimes if I'm not into it, then it'll be straightforward and doing my thing. But it's important to be real about it, and I just don't like fabricating personality or things of that nature. Do your thing, and because sometimes if your personality is kind of stoic and you don't move around, that could be a cool thing in itself. That's you. It's your real life. It's how you actually communicate. That's the way it goes, and it's much better than making up some phony thing. But I think the laughing analogy is perfect because you laugh uncontrollably. I mean, when somebody says something funny, it's funny. And you have a mouthful of food, it's coming out.
Yeah.
You don't think, I think I'll spit the food out at this point because that does seem rather humorous,
Perhaps this milk out of my nose would be amusing.
Wow.
It's so good.
Right. We got so many people that are popping on to say hi. We have Matt Levine. We have Sean Callison, used to be a guitar player with me. Johnny Rizzo is on saying hi. Paulie Krause says hi. And Lenny, your sister Lisa is on saying hi. She has she has a lot of questions, but I know we have to keep going.
Carolyn Purr says hi as well. She said she'll be watching the show tonight. I don't know if she's gonna catch it.
Great.
Yeah.
She did a couple of things with you, I think. And
you guys gonna record this and archive it so I can post the link?
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, it's live, and then we record it also at all times, and then it'll be up on YouTube immediately.
Wonderful.
So,
great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll post it. I'll have to get some more hits.
John Isaacs had asked about.
My lights flickered, so.
Had asked about your. Could you talk anything? You had a brief time. You were in a UFO. Is that true?
Yeah. In 1983, they called me. Pete Way left the band.
Yeah.
Paul Chapman was playing guitar. Neil Carter on keyboards. Andy Parker drums, and of course Phil Mogg. And so they flew me over to London to rehearse. So on the way, I'm learning the UFO songs, like sleep learning. I'm getting every little nuance of every song. Then they go, okay, this is. I got there, the first rehearsal, get there like about noon, some little rehearsal place in London. And I'm there, and I'm ready to go. And I got my little, I think I had a cassette player or something. I listened down to the songs one more time, listen to it through. I look up, oh, it's about 3 o'clock, and I've been through the whole cassette myself again for about the 50th time, and nobody from the band is there yet. So about 4 o'clock comes around, 5 o'clock, about 5:30. One of the guys wanted to say, hey, we're down to the pub. You want to come join us? I go, well, okay, I guess. We got to, no. So we go there, have a few beers, come back. It's getting kind of late. Maybe we should knock off for today. Okay, so we didn't rehearse. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. Now we got live shows coming up. I'm thinking, you guys, at some point, we better go over this stuff and see if it's happening. And we did finally. And like the last day, we finally got through the whole set once. And our first show was in Gdansk, Poland, the night that they let Lech Wałęsa, the leader of the Solidarność, the night they let him out of prison. And Poland was still under Soviet rule. So it was on total lockdown, gray, completely martial law everywhere. Nobody could be out on the street. And it was amazing to be in a communist country behind the Iron Curtain, where they had their fist on that city. And so we played the show. It was quite amazing. The kids went crazy. They were just so glad to have a band. And they rushed the stage. And I remember seeing these guys on TV, and the news reports about Poland was quite a lot of them at the time, because the whole thing with Solidarity was the first chip in the mountain of the Soviet Empire. And they had these guys with these big white sticks with uniforms on. And these guys, and we're on stage playing, and these guys would just look at each other, randomly wade into the crowd and start swinging and hitting these kids. I'm up there like incensed. I was so mad. Like, man, in America, the crowd would have turned on them and probably killed them. But these kids were afraid of these guys, and they were brutalizing them, and it was just awful. And here, I got a prop for this next one.
Sure.
Hold on. Let me run and get some. Right back.
Yeah. So we got some live video of Billy playing. So while he gets that, he can watch. There he is.
So we were playing, and I'm watching these kids, and this jam, this chaos. We're playing, and one kid, it's totally illegal to have anything that said Solidarność, which is a Polish way of saying solidarity. You couldn't have it. You had to write it down. You go right to jail. You're out. So we're there under the eyes of the Soviet Union and the Communist Party, and this little kid is pushed up against the front of the barricade, getting jammed from side. He's looking at me, and I think I had some hat or something, or some pin on that said I was from America, and he's like pointing to it. Yeah, amazing. And so he looks around, and it's jammed back, and we're playing. We're in the middle of a song, and he holds up a little pin.
Wow.
And it was a Solidarność pin that you go right to jail for.
Right.
And he was going to give it to me. So I looked around, reached over, grabbed it from him, went over to my crew guy and decided, put this in your pocket and hide it. And we have it to this day. It was the beginning of the end of the of the communist Soviet Union. So it's pretty
really cool.
Huge, man. Yeah. That's so
that is
cool.
really cool. Wow.
That's a part of history. I mean, you were there the day they let Lech Wałęsa out.
The weird thing about the UFO tour, every place we went, some amazing earth-shaking thing was.
You guys were like, you were what's his name? Oh my God, Tom Hanks.
We were in. Go ahead.
Like Forrest Gump, you're right in the middle of that stuff.
We were in Lyon, France, to play in Lyon. The day they brought Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon, the Nazi, the day they brought him in for trial. So there was machine gun guys everywhere. It was unbelievable. Then we were in, I think, in Porto, Portugal, on the day that Portugal decided that they might not want to stay in NATO anymore, which meant they were going to flip and go with the Soviets or whatever. And so we had F-14s flying over our hotel like you couldn't possibly believe. And if you ever, I can't imagine when guys are on the battlefield and one of those flies over, at that point, you go, I'm done. That's it. Right. One flies over you low. I said, you win. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. Wow. And then we were in Milan, Italy, when they brought the Aldo Moro, who was a killer who I think killed a U.S. Envoy in Italy, or kidnapped or murdered a U.S. envoy. So our car, we actually got stopped, and we were the front car. That machine gun guards lined up while they brought his car past, so that he wouldn't. No one could shoot at his car or help him escape. So just about, and then I think we were some big event in Greece too when we were in Athens, Greece. So it was quite a noteworthy little trip. Every place we went, there was chaos, and plus the guys in the band, I love them dearly, but they were in rough shape. They were kind of on their last legs. Mike had left the band. Now Pete Way left the band, and wonderful guys. I love UFO. I've always loved them, and still do. But it was a tough time for everybody. So
Wow.
That's an amazing
And you
story.
also did pre-production work for Michael Schenker's first album,
yeah.
correct?
Myself and Danny Carmassi. Danny was the drummer from Montrose who did the Rock Candy beginning. And everybody wanted to use Danny after they heard that record. So we went there, and Danny and I were the only Americans. And Michael was, he was just, he was in rough shape. He's a good guy. He's a righteous person, a great guitar player, supreme talent. But a lot of times you take a guy like that and you put him in the grinding mill of the music biz and touring, and they don't do well. And I didn't think Michael was really the type of person that, okay, come on, let's go on the road and let's make it. He just wanted to play his guitar and do his thing, and so unfortunately, he was in bad shape. He got involved in a lot of intoxicants. I'm glad he came through it okay, and he's all better now. But at the time, at one point, I had to take his guitar off and tune it for him. He was in really rough shape.
Wow.
That's a shame. I mean, I've been keeping track of him for years, and I know he's on an upswing now, isn't he? I mean, he seems to
Good
be
for
pretty
him.
healthy, and watching some of the stuff he's doing. I think the last tour he did with a whole bunch of his former singers, it seems
Right.
he actually seemed to really be happy
Wonderful.
doing that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a good man, with a good heart, and it's a tough business. I've been lucky. Early on, I made a complete left turn. And since 1971, I haven't even had an aspirin. I never tried cocaine. I don't do anything. I do like a little vino and maybe some whiskey once in a while, but haven't been a drug guy at all. So I feel for the people that unfortunately got caught up in that. I don't dislike or look down on anybody that's been entrapped by that, because
No, it's
it's part of life, and it's an awful thing when it happens. And I've done what I can to help a lot of my friends turn it around. So that's important. I'm
great.
glad to hear Michael's okay.
Yeah.
great. It's
Wow.
it's really
Fantastic.
great to hear. I mean, we see a lot of our friends who are not in good shape. And
Yeah.
we continue to just say, look, we're here for you. If you want to talk, you want help, I'm always willing to help. Joey's been a big help to me too.
Yeah.
So
Right on.
to say so.
Same here. We're all nobody's perfect, and we're all gonna.
Yeah, no one's perfect, man, and
We're all
no.
gonna have our failings,
Yeah. Absolutely. So
Right on.
So you also, I'm going to be jumping around here because your resume is just so incredible. You played with everybody.
My resume.
Yes.
resume. Yeah.
And I want to bring something up that maybe a lot of people don't know, that you also played on a couple of tracks for Glenn Tipton of Judas Priest and his
Yeah.
Baptizer Fire album, right?
Oh yeah, it was so great. I love priests so much.
Did
Were
you
you,
know
were you
that?
in the
Love Priest.
were you recording in the same, were all you guys together? Because I guess playing drums on the tracks that you played on was Cozy Powell.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Cozy wasn't there for that. It was just me and Glenn. The drum
Okay.
tracks were already done. But yeah, Glenn Tipton. The Screaming for Vengeance record is probably one of the greatest records ever made.
Oh,
On top-
No question.
Crazy.
No question.
Crazy.
And then coming out of British Steel too, which was just mind blowing, and their earlier works too. I had an engineer in New York City give me a cassette of a board tape of them playing 3 nights at the Palladium, and Rob
Was
Halford.
that one of those shows?
Oh, really? I should send it to you. I got it on MP3 now. I can write to
Oh,
Yeah,
I
shoot
love
it over. We would
Yeah.
die.
you. Oh, it's so
Palladium.
great.
Oof.
Yeah, it's so great. And you can hear Rob, like when he comes out, he's conservative a little bit with his voice, waiting for it to warm up, and then he hits it. And oh man, I love that band so much. They're so great. So when I heard that Glenn wanted to use me on on bass, I was through the roof. It was so wonderful. Great guy, and his tone and his playing.
Yeah.
Screaming for Vengeance. Well, actually, I think it was. I hope I got the timeline right. That record came out about 83.
Yeah.
Yeah. 83,
Yeah.
Yeah.
82, 83.
That was so.
Actually, on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour, you guys would always play it at the after show party.
Oh, really?
Vengeance.
That was probably my idea because
Yes.
that or Back in Black or If You Want Blood, You've Got It, the live AC/DC. Another
Yeah.
favorite of mine. But remember, I was listening to the cassette of UFO. Well, the other cassette I had with me was Screaming for Vengeance. So I got on the 747, which is pretty rare for me back then because I was only doing domestic flights if I ever flew at all. So I'm, changed planes in New York City. I got my passport. I'm gonna go play with UFO. The plane turns onto the runway. Now next in line, it turns on, getting ready to take off, and I hit playing. For the Screaming for Vengeance record.
Yep.
And so as it took off, it was Electric Eye was playing
Yeah.
there. So I was so excited to be doing something like that. Very cool.
Wow.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think the the live album, which is questionable about live, but I mean, Unleashed in the East, Judas Priest was just, as me for a kid, was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I got the board tape, and it's right on.
It is right on like that. They are that on.
Yeah.
The two of them, you got to love guitar players who understand how to work. It's just not one thing. That he's doing this, he's doing that. They're doing their thing. It's great. It's really so good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they were both KK Downing and Glenn. What a pair! Great. I love that band. They were just so awesome.
Yeah. And
And,
Rob's voice. Wow.
Oh man, incredible! So great. So when I was younger, I could do the super high, hard falsetto that Rob does. So when we would do Judas Priest songs, I'd be the guy doing the
you'd be doing the Priest songs.
Me too. I was that guy too, and I was playing bass at that time too. So it must be something
Yeah,
about those bass players going to hit those notes.
I've lost it since then, but if I have a cold, it comes back for some reason. But I remember doing a Green Manalishi with a 2-prong crown. I had to do that.
yeah.
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 So
No,
great.
in the early days of Talus, you did the singing, right? This was before you had the singer when you were a 3-piece.
All three of us sang in the 3-piece.
Right.
Yeah, and the other two much more than me. I mean, they were actual like real singers, and I could sing, but I could croak it out somewhat in tune. And eventually, I sang more and more and more. And then when those guys left, and I did the 4-piece Dallas with Phil Narrow singing,
Right.
a lot of it was duet stuff with him because the other guys didn't sing. So and we just did the last bit of recording in Toronto. I'm monitoring it remotely for a brand new Talus record. So that's
Awesome.
just about ready to go.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
That-
Finally.
That lineup from 1985, we had a whole bunch of songs we did live that we never recorded or never recorded properly. So the whole record is going to be just like it was in the mid 80s. Exactly. We didn't rewrite stuff or fancy it up. We just, let's do it the way we did it back then with the original guys and even Mitch Perry, the guitar player.
Yeah, because there was like, 3 or 4 versions, members-wise, of the band.
Two, yeah. We had Mitch Perry for a while, and then another guy, Johnny Angel, came in and played guitar. So, but Mitch initially brought 2 songs in that were very popular, Crystal Clear and On the Take. So he laid guitar down for those on this too.
Yeah.
So we're glad he could join us also.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So Mitch Perry is there with myself, another guitarist from Rochester who's friends with Phil Narrow. Phil is of course singing. Phil's friend Curie is playing guitar, and then Mark Miller is the drummer. And man, he is as good as ever. Mind blowing. I know on the very first, Mike Portnoy sent me a photo of the very first Dream Theater rehearsal, and Mike's wearing a Talus shirt because he used to come to Lemoore and see us.
Yeah.
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 We all did.
Yeah.
And he was a huge Mark Miller fan. And then Ray Lugier from Korn lives here in Nashville, and we're very close friends here. We work together a lot, and we started a production company actually together. And he said him and his friends back in Pittsburgh would have some VHS cassette that was all wobbly, watching Mark Miller and trying to learn Mark Miller stuff. And Mark was good. And actually, David Lee Roth flew Mark out for the drum position in the Eat 'Em and Smile band before Greg Bissonette. And unfortunately, Mark's not a rock and roll partying guy, and I know it wasn't his thing really. You know, because Dave came out and saw us twice on that tour, and Mark was just a mind blowing powerhouse, and so he suggested we fly him in, and it was good. He's great, but I knew his heart wasn't in it. So I talked with Dave about it, and I don't think he's really into it like he could be. So,
Right.
and I think he had just gotten married, and his wife was pregnant, so you know he didn't want to really go on the road with the Edom Smile Band at that point. I can't say I blame him.
Right.
But he's back now. We're playing together, and he is one of my favorite people in the music biz, and he is just as good as ever. Like Terry Bozzio meets Bill Bruford and Billy Cowell.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
pretty
Wow. So
And
how
you've
did
done
you?
a project with Terry Bozzio.
Say again?
I said you've done a project or two with Terry on drums.
Yeah, I did do one. I think it was called 9 Short Films.
Yes.
We did it. Recorded in Austin, Texas, and it was a weird time for me because it was just a big, huge blow up in Mr. Big, and I got a phone call saying they didn't want me in the band anymore. So I'm like, wow, well, I started the band, bro.
What does that mean?
Hold on a second, you know. And we had a real problem. Our main manager quit, and we got this other guy that was a complete goofball, and it was just all hell was breaking loose. So I'm down there. I get up in the morning and start making calls with the lawyers about our counterpunch, and then I go, oh, let's write some music. And my head was spinning. But Terry was great to work with. He's such a genius player, and he ended up in a unique. But I give him a lot of credit for having the courage to make such a artistic turn. He did spoken word over all of the tracks, so they were like a theme. Like a movie theme song to the story that he's telling.
Wow.
And it was actually pretty cool. And
Wow.
A lot of people were puzzled by it, but if you actually sit down and listen to it, it's kind of cool. But yeah, I've been friends with Terry ever since, and we have jammed together a few times here and there. What a genius.
Wow. Wow. So
Fantastic.
how did you get into the Mr. Big thing? You started the band?
Yeah, when I left Dave, I wanted to do a band that was just more like Talus was, you know, a blues-based singing with hard rock and pushed a little bit speedier too, like Humble Pie, like Bad Company or Free. Bands like
Alice.
Spooky Tooth. Yeah,
Right.
Talus was kind of formed from those bands. So I knew Paul already. He used to come see me play all the time in Talus back in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And he was now in LA going to MI, so I knew
Yeah.
he was there. And the drummer Pat I knew also through a couple of mutual friends. The keyboard player from Edom Smile, Brett Tuggle, Pat was a good buddy of his. So I knew him through that. I knew he was a great drummer, could sing his ass off. And so I was looking for a singer, and Mike Varney turned me on to Eric Martin because he was
Yeah.
a Bay Area guy. So
Yeah,
I heard
what
him.
a
I said,
voice.
that's a Steve Marriott, Paul Rogers. There he is, man.
That
That's
blues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a voice, man.
Yeah, great voice. So we put it together, and we used Kevin Elson on to produce us, and he did all the Journey stuff. So he was at quite a pedigree when he came in. So it was great to work with him. And the manager was Herbie Herbert, and Herbie
Okay.
was one of the
Yeah.
founding fathers of the music biz, one of the baddest ass cats. He really was our secret weapon. He made everything. He cut deals for us like nobody else, and really made life good for us right away. And took very little commission, no publishing. Was just a sweet, wonderful, generous guy that really put us over the top. He got us our hit single. Atlantic Records didn't have very much to do with it at all. It was mostly Herbie. You know,
Wow.
they were there after it became, oh yeah, now they're all our friends now. But Herbie actually made the thing happen, and we were forever indebted to him. And we had a great run. We did about 4 records together. Paul decided to leave. We brought Richie Kotzen in, who is a superstar, a genius, great player and singer.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't the same band. I mean, before we're talking about Van Halen, if it would have changed a member, it's not the same. It wasn't the same. I love Richie's playing. I love the Winery Dogs. I love Richie's
So
solos.
do we.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, I
the
can't
same.
talk about him, so
Yeah, he's not allowed to talk about
I'm not
it.
allowed to.
Okay.
I'm like a
All right.
stalker to Richie.
All right. I won't say another thing.
No,
But
no,
anyway,
absolutely. Go on.
But
It's just
after
a
that,
joke we have.
We did two records, and we didn't have Herbie anymore, and it was just the manager guy that was taking care of us was just a catastrophe. So we decided to call it quits. And then back in 2009, Paul decided, he said, "You guys want to get together, the original lineup?" And we said, "Oh, yes, we sure do." We went on from there. But so it was a great run. We To Be With was number one in 14 countries.
Yeah.
Platinum all over the
Amazing.
place.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, that experience, you were really, really part of that. You know what I mean? You done the Dave thing, and it was Dave, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are superstars, you and Steve, but it was Dave. It was the Dave show. But
It was his band.
right, it was his band. You guys did Mr. Big, and it was the band, and I felt that.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it was. We got live tapes of us from the very early days, before any digital anything, and we're singing and playing, and man, it is right on. Eric is hitting every note, and so
You guys had some hits.
matter of fact, the first
Great songs.
we played in Japan on the first album for our first tour there, and they really took to the band very well. And now we're on tour with Rush, and Japan wanted a live record until our next record came out as a placeholder. So we were out on tour with Rush. We didn't have any way to take a break and go do a record. So can we give them a live thing? And they go, yeah, okay. So at the front house, Brad Maddox mixed our front house. He's quite a famous mixer now, but at the time he was Rush's monitor mixer. So we hired him to go up front and mix us every night. So Brad went out front of the house, had a DAT, digital audio tape machine, hit record and recorded the show. No overdubs, no mixing, no nothing. It was just his board mix. We put that, and that ended up being the first Raw Like Sushi live Mr. Big record. And in Korea, it sold, in the first 2 months, sold 350,000 units. So
Wow.
in Japan was like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of units sold. And our budget for the record was $7.95 because that's how much the DAT tape cost. So and with Atlantic Records, we still didn't recoup. So
right. That was not a $7 tape, and that was there's handling and there's the back office.
yeah, and there's stamps. They need the stamps for postage and all that.
Stamps, yeah. We
of
spent
money
a
for
lot
that.
of stamps.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you, since you brought up the Japan, was like when the 80s bands were kind of fading out due to the grunge kind of starting within, you guys propelled over in Japan, like big time, were superstars. How did that happen?
Well, there's a cliche that any band from America or the West goes to Japan, they just love them no matter what they do. So a lot of bands would go over and think, we can get it, we can do anything we want, and they're going to love it. Nope, not at all. They're very polite and they'll clap, but they're not coming back again. And we went over there looking at them like we look at any other audience. Let's pound it. Let's hit it as hard as we can.
Yeah.
And then after show, we shook every hand, kissed every baby. They would send letters, fan letters, to the band by putting them up at the soundboard. And these piles of letters would come back. Inside the envelope was another envelope with their address and a stamp and a pen and paper so you could write back to them. So I sit there and I answered every single one. I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning, and I put a pick in there, one of my Billy Sheehan bass triangular picks, and sent it back. And we worked it. We did every in-store promotion and every radio thing. Anything the label asked us to do, we said, yeah, we got there early and stayed late. So we really worked it hard, and that was the reward for that. When grunge came in the mid-'90s, I think the statistic, Mr. Big in Japan outsold Pearl Jam 40-1 in actual numbers, and because in Asia they didn't quite get the grunge thing. It didn't work for them like some other forms of music did. I mean, they got the Beatles right away, and they got a lot of other things, but the grunge thing didn't sink in over there. So and it wasn't only Japan; it was all of Southeast Asia. So we had Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. I get more email today now from Indonesia than anywhere in the world. Singapore, the Philippines, Korea, then South America. We played Henry Rollins and one other band
Brazil.
in Brazil.
Yes.
Henry Rollins,
Lemonhead.
the Lemonheads. That's it. And Mr. Big. We think, wow, I'm not sure. Should we be headlining the show? It's on Santos Beach outside of Brazil. And it's during the day, we're backstage, we're hanging out, sound check, ready to go. I look out there, there's a lot of people out there. A couple hours go by. There's a lot of people out there. A few more. Henry Rollins goes on stage. I look out, and there's about 100,000 people. We didn't know, but they were playing "To Be With You" as a song on a Brazilian soap opera during the day. So everybody knew who we were. And so we went out there, and the place went out of their minds. And by the end of the show, it was such chaos. There was huge bonfires in the distance and everything. And the police that were there for security, they left. They walked. They knew it was going to be a catastrophe. So we're on stage still playing like the last couple of songs. And off in the distance, I see the army showed up. See guys getting off a truck with helmets to disperse the crowd. That's how crazy it was. So not only Brazil, but all over South America and Europe too. We did just great in France and Germany and Italy. At one point, there was like 3 or 4 Mr. Big copy bands in Italy. So the cliche goes that it's all about Japan, but in fact, we were very lucky, very fortunate to have great fans all over, and we are so grateful for it. It's such having a hit single is a passport to the world. You go, right. We show up in Helsinki, Finland, and there's fans outside the hotel. Amazing. So it was quite an awesome run. Mr. Big was will always hold an incredibly special place in my heart, and the fans that made it happen for sure. Pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
Just
very
amazing,
cool.
Yeah.
Rest my case, Your Honor.
So, Billy, you've been playing that bass now. That's the Attitude bass, right?
Yes,
How
sir.
long you've been having that? You've been using that for a long time now.
For 30 years, as a matter of fact. So we did the 30-year anniversary version, which is up on the wall over there. I have.
Oh, you have basses.
Hey, where's the wife?
That's her right there. There's the wife.
The wife.
Next to her is her sister. So there's some carrying on went on there. And then next to that is another sunburst. That's the 30-year anniversary.
Wow.
And it's basically this bass, but done up to look like the wife or how she looked when she was young. Initially, it was a sunburst bass back in the 70s. And then by the time it got to Mr. Big, we didn't have much left on it.
Right. I didn't want to get too much into the bass because there is a lot of those, of the gear things on the net. And I was watching it earlier because we are big gear guys here too. The one thing we wanted to ask was about the scalloping on your frets. Why the scalloping?
Well, in the 70s, I knew about it because John McLaughlin from Mahavishnu Orchestra, he had a couple Les Pauls that were scalloped. And a friend of mine scalloped his. He had a black Les Paul, but he did super deep scallops. What scallop is the side of a scallop shell. When you get scallops, and it's got those little grooves in it. So they do the same thing on the side of the bass. You remove the wood from in between the frets because you're just playing on the fret. The wood really doesn't matter. But on a bass, if you lose that much wood, bass is again a string instrument with heavy strings. It's going to be unstable, and it's really not so much of a factor in your playing. For guitar, it can be. Yngwie's guitars were scalloped.
Yeah,
so
very much scalloped. Yeah,
we did the tour with them in '85. I went back to the hotel room, and I always got my tools with me. So I had my Dremel Moto tool. So I thought, hey, maybe I could scallop a couple frets on my bass. So I had the strings off, and I went, and the last one went, it went across the frets. And I thought I ruined my bass. So I just went halfway across because you couldn't push this string into the wood if you were Godzilla anyway. Yeah. So I just went half, so you can kind of. It helps you get that highest note, which is a high G.
Right.
So that helped me to get the bends a little bit easier. You can do that stuff. But it isn't really an essential thing. But I had it on my P bass, so we grandfathered in all the things I did to that.
Of course.
The neck position pickup, the dual output, blah blah blah. We brought all that into the first Attitude. This is the third version. Right. So the scallops. But people ask me a lot about them because, but they're not. For years I played that bass with no scallops, and it isn't a real big thing. But it's funny how certain things people will fixate on. For a long time, I had on my strap these 2 squares with LEDs on them that would flash.
Yeah.
And what they were is if you're a businessman, you go to a convention, you put it on your suit jacket, and you put your business card, and they flash around like a marquee light.
Right.
And so I happen to have two of them. I thought, it'd be kind of cool if I stuck them on my strap. And so I had these straps. So I come out onto a dark stage and these lights would be flashing. People are, oh, it's a what? No, it makes his bass, it keeps his bass in tune. No, it's a wireless thing. And people would go crazy. And every time, I'm doing my best to do some musical thing, and they go, hey, how's the show? Those lights were amazing. And I go, well, what about my playing? Yeah, but the lights.
The lights. Yeah, I get it.
It's hilarious. So the scallops are kind of in that category, in that they're not really essential. I'm used to the feel of them there. But if you ever have the opportunity to play a guitar that's scalloped, it's a little tricky because you can push the note way sharp.
Easy.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the problems. So Ing is the king, and that's one of the reasons why he's just such a genius at that. He's such control. And on that tour, incidentally, I didn't. He was just mind blowing every night. We got up and jammed.
Which tour was that?
The Rising Force.
Rising Force, yeah. I saw him on that tour.
Oh,
I saw him with Alcatraz too.
Fire
with Graham.
Yeah. He was on fire. Jeff Scott Soto was singing too. So
yeah.
We exchanged Yngwie memories backstage with Sons of Apollo.
And you played with them not that long ago on one of the G3 tours, which is you're like the resident bass player for those guys. Yeah.
He was it was a Steve Vai, somebody else, varying guys, and then Satriani. And I was with Steve. Oh no, Steve Vai, Yngwie, and the other guy. So we hung out a lot there too. It was great to see him again. And he's I've never had a problem with Yngwie. He's always been sweet to me and wonderful to me. And I just love his playing. And
I think
again, I rest my case.
Our friend Andy Allendort, who does helps us out and does things, says nothing but good things about Yngwie. He goes, it's just a blast because Yngwie is Yngwie. There's what you see is Yngwie.
Yeah. And it's got to be the way it's got to be for him to do his show. Yeah. So if somebody screws it up, you can't be that way. It's got to be this way. He needs that thing to do this thing. So get it together or go away.
Right.
That's simple. I understand.
Wow.
So Bill, getting back to your bass for a second, did you had the scale longer scale bass on your neck? Did you extend the scale?
This is standard, but there is one that is a longer scale back on the wall there. Mm-hmm. One from the end. Okay. Because when it's a longer scale, the strings have to be tighter to make the same pitch, which keeps them from flopping around. Because a lot of times a super low note, like if I use the D tuner, drop the low E.
Yeah. Yep.
My set of Rotosound strings, I think I have the package in the garbage right here.
Yeah. You got the...
There's a little plug for you. Yep. My Rotosound strings.
There you go. That's what we needed.
The low string is a 110.
110, right.
Instead of a 105, so it's bigger. So because when it's low, it can fly. It's easier for it to not find its note or its tone.
Yeah.
It's a little trickier. So the long scale bass makes it a little tighter.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a baritone guitar, usually it's a longer scale too, because it's tuned down to B, and those strings would be flopping around. So because it's longer scales, it keeps them a little tighter. So we're putting some other people to sleep here now.
Yeah, we know, but some of them go, wow, I didn't know this was so interesting. They are fascinating.
What I think a lot of people don't know is what a fantastic singer you are. You're singing on your solo records, right? That's you doing the singing. It's an amazing voice.
Well, thank you. When you hear your own voice in your head, it always sounds awful.
Yeah.
I know Hendrix sang behind the screen. He was embarrassed for anyone to see him, and I love his voice. I love Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
So I got a little bit of that virus going on there. But I hit the notes. I was real lucky. I found an amazing vocal coach in LA. His name is Ron Anderson. When Bono blows his voice out on a U2 tour, they fly Ron Anderson in to fix him. That's how good this guy is. Wow. And he really helped Richie Kotzen is a big advocate of him as well. We did 9 shows in a row with Wonder Dogs, and Richie did not blow his voice out. Nailed it every single night. because of Ron Anderson. He really teaches it the right way. So I always sang, like back in the day, I did Bowie and Rob Halford and a couple other things. Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
He's just kind of talking. But then eventually got to a point where I'm actually singing. And in all the bands I've been in, I'm always singing harmony. So your pitch has got to be right on. And it's not so much your lead singing with sliding in and out of notes and vibrato and stuff. And in harmony, you just got to hit that note and hang on to it in coordination with the other notes, so it makes the right chord. A lot of lead singers sing in harmony. Sometimes it doesn't work because they're too much of a lead singer. So I did harmony on everything forever. So the pitches weren't so much the problem. Then eventually, when I did start singing early Bowie, I did Suffragette City, Rebel Rebel, The Supermen, pretty cool song.
Yeah.
And some old Bowie stuff like that. And I sang Green Manalishi and Hellbent for Leather and a bunch of Judas Priest stuff. So that was good for that. So yeah, I've managed to croak out a couple of somewhat acceptable vocal performances.
Wow. Yeah, and I'll tell you, I know me and Lenny both went to see you recently, a year ago at with the Winery Dogs at was that Sony Hall, right, Lenny?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
Sony.
that gig.
Yeah,
Great gig,
that was
great
fucking
venue.
packed. And I was hoping it wasn't gonna be that packed because I saw Richie the year before, and there was it was like half filled, and I was like, oh, why are all these people here? I hate when the band that I like becomes popular. Fuck.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're
Tone that down.
you and Mike sounded amazing on backups. I mean, you guys
Great.
you blend
Thank you.
really well with Richie.
That was that was
Really.
all night. You guys just tore it up.
Yeah, fucking
Wonderful,
killed
yeah.
it, man.
I love that band. I love playing with Mike and Richie in that band. Mike's
Now-
got a great voice too. He hits the note. He's right on.
Yeah.
Were you with them on tour in Europe when this whole pandemic thing broke out?
Yeah, we were doing a Sons of Apollo. We got 4 shows in. And then we were about to fly to the Ukraine and then Moscow. And the news reports are getting worse and worse. And everybody wanted to continue playing. But I finally said, you guys, if we get into the Ukraine or Moscow and they shut it down so nobody can fly anymore, they're not going to put us up at the Four Seasons Hotel.
No. Wow.
We're going to be probably in an army barrack somewhere or
Gulag.
as refugees somewhere and plus we're going to have to pay for that hotel every single night and for the crew every single night. And if that would have actually happened, we would still be there and I'd be broke by now because I would have had to sell my house to pay for my accommodations and over there. So it was, so I was a little bit worried about that. So I put forth that point to everyone and we discussed it. Nobody wanted to go home. Nobody wanted to stop playing, but we knew we were in a tough situation because we also had gigs booked. So you can't just cancel a gig. They got tickets sold. There's deposits down. You can't just, that's why we ever see back in the old days, some prima donna lead singer canceling the show because of whatever. It is a catastrophe, a business catastrophe to cancel the show.
Right.
I mean, we've our old manager, Herbie Herbert, said, no matter what, no matter how sick you are, no matter what's going on, roll a stretcher out on a stage and play. Don't ever cancel. It's awful. So we did not want to cancel. And some of the clubs were saying, well, if you do cancel, you're liable because, you're just canceling on your own determinism. There has to be some kind of a order come down that we can't have you play or we can sue you. So we're thinking, oh, great. So if we do go home, we can end up getting sued. So we said, well, we're going to have to roll the dice. Let's go. The next day, everybody got shut down.
Right, shut down.
So we didn't get into
Good
any trouble.
timing. Yeah.
And what we felt bad because we didn't want to shut, because clubs sometimes run on a razor thin margin of profit,
Absolutely.
amazingly. And so we didn't want to shut down. So we assured and promised everybody whose gig we cancel, we will come back. We'll do a makeup show for sure. We'll play again. We'll do it when we can come back. So unfortunately, it's gone way longer than anyone thought it would go.
Yeah.
And I obey the rules. I'm down with it. I wear the mask outside all the time. We're good.
Yep.
I think my wife had it when she came home from Italy last December. She was awfully sick and for a long time. Some of my friends close to me that I've been around have had it. I haven't gotten it, but we still follow the rules. But
Absolutely.
I'm not down with it. I don't think it's really the threat that people say it is.
Right.
But I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything wrong. Follow the rules. Obey. I wear the mask all the time. We're good, but and plus it's crushing the music entertainment business.
Absolutely.
All the venues around us are closing down because now in New York State, they're like everything has to be over by 10 o'clock.
I heard.
Yep.
You just like bands don't even
Yeah.
we don't start going out till 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. At the Lemoore, we didn't go on stage till 1 a.m.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The good old days.
Yeah.
That was our
Remember you
conversation before you got on, man. I wouldn't even think about going on before midnight anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't. If I was going out, I wouldn't go take a shower until like 11 p.m. You know,
Same thing.
You take a shower, then you're like, we'll go out because I don't want to see the opening band. Shit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would be gigging in New York City, and I would like get up at 8:30 and go, okay, I'm gonna eat, and then I take a shower, and then I'm gonna go, then I'll head to the gig.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, where does it stand now? I mean, as far as management telling you with whatever project that you're involved in, when touring may resume? We're here in 2022, fall
We know
of 2021.
We don't know anything. It's up to the whatever governments decide if they want to open it up or not. I personally would like to see it open. I think some people are going to get sick no matter what. In the regular seasonal flu season prior to the COVID season, in America alone, 79,400 people died of seasonal flu, and there was never a lockdown. There was never, you never even heard about it. And that's Center for Disease Control statistics. That was just in the USA. Generally, it averages 50 to 60,000 people a year die of seasonal flu. Now, are the numbers we have real? I don't like to start any conspiracy theory, but I know a lot of things were called COVID-19 that were not. I know people personally who've had experience with it, so I don't want to get into any politics. I'm as non-political as I can possibly be. I respect other people's opinions, and I don't assert mine. But I don't think it's warranted, the lockdown. I don't think it's warranted. But I'm gonna play by the rules. I'm out of work for a couple of years. There's a lot of practicing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Practice your vocal. Okay.
I think I've focused enough on my guitar playing at this point. I think I better start singing.
Yeah. So are you doing any recording with any of the bands, with either Sons or Winery Dogs or anything? Or
not with any
doing
bands.
Talus, right?
Yeah, we finished the Talus. I had this great software called Audio Movers, and Phil can sing in Toronto while I listen in real time with no delay. I don't know how to do it. I have no idea how it's done. And then with Zoom, we do the talk back. So I'd be, coaching him through get the lyric sheet out. We go over it. He'd sing the old songs.
Right.
We got it all done that way. We had all the basic tracks done before the whole shutdown happened. So we're lucky for that. That's
good. Yeah.
It's about to go to mixing pretty soon, so we're very excited about it.
Awesome. So
other than that, I have a production company myself, Ray Lugier, another friend of ours, Scott Bush, who plays guitar but also does our Pro Tools work and is a great mixer. And we're up to about 100 songs now for clients all over the world.
Wow.
Did a whole record for a guy in Brazil, did a record singer-songwriter here in Nashville, did songs for Russian guys, a Ukrainian guy, Japanese folks, Chinese guy, people all over the USA. So we've been recording like crazy. All kinds of music, though. Yesterday we did an electronic dance music track. That was fun.
Wow.
And some soul and R&B and some funk stuff, some ultra metal, heavy metal.
Wow.
So all over the map. But it's kind of cool because when I record, I'm usually with my band or the band that I'm in, and we're recording the songs that we wrote and worked on. So to do all these different things is kind of a cool experience where I doing different tones and different approaches to it, and it's kind of cool. So I've been super busy.
Tommy, that's why I had to stop playing bass, because this guy's taking all my work.
No, I figured that, other than the fact that, he probably plays a little better.
He probably plays a little better than me. Probably. The only thing I ever did is stood on top of a bar and danced around like an idiot. So.
Well, you do that better than me too.
So
that's a perfectly fine occupation right there, my friend.
Yeah, I do the same thing strippers do. That's all.
Well, hopefully with
exotic dancers.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, right. We want to call it correctly. So we have a couple of segments, and I know we've been going on for a while. We're having a great time talking to you, but
I am too. Thank you, gentlemen.
we have a. See, I told you this is like a hang here. This is not
Yeah,
like
you know
a-
what it is?
We're idiots.
I need a glass of wine to really. Then the stories will really start coming.
Yeah, I finished mine, so
It's great though, and everybody gets to see what it's like being in your home, talking to you, Billy. That's really what we're trying to get here.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like it.
It's just people have the opportunity right now because of where we are to just look. We're in your music room. You're in my music room. You're
Yeah,
in,
cool.
and it's these are things people don't get to see in interviews. You're on a set half the time.
Yeah,
You're doing an
exactly.
interview. You're in a radio station.
And just trying to ask the questions that your diehard fans around the world may not necessarily know about you.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we try to ask questions to they can get a little bit more insight into, your thinking process and music that you're coming out with.
Well, right on. Yeah, there's going to be, I think, a silver lining to the cloud of this whole pandemic insanity is that, it's opened up new ways for us to communicate and really made them
Absolutely.
solid. The Zoom thing, I've done all kinds of Zoom
Yeah.
sessions and master classes and stuff while we've been down there. So that's a great thing for
Yeah. Gave us a
collaboration.
show. We didn't have a
Yeah,
show before this.
great. And I've also, and a lot of musicians have really been hitting it hard. I've spoken to a lot of guys. And now is the first time we get a chance to sit down and like rebuild your playing or learn a whole bunch of new things.
Oh
you've
yeah,
never
this
heard
has
before.
been
Great.
to go. I've had the opportunity to go back and review everything that I forgot. 30
great.
years ago. Is theory wise, and then
Yeah.
that's why that works. Oh yeah, I knew that that's why that worked, but it already
It escaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gone past the playing part.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to go back and not get super technical, but just really okay, and make it work better. That's what I've been
Yeah.
doing. It's like it's been musically, it's been working better. And
Right.
I'm practicing more than ever.
Yeah.
I got two garage doors in my garage, and I open them up, let the air come in. I got a little amp out there, and I got a 25-pound bag of peanuts. I start throwing the peanuts out there, and the chipmunks start coming. So as I'm playing, they come over, they look at me like, "Oh, I guess he's okay," and they grab the peanut and run. Eventually, now already twice I've got them to take it out of my hand. So
Wow.
I make it.
Be careful because we want you to play. You don't want to be, chipmunked out.
He's a little chipmunk. He's not gonna.
So, we have a couple segments we do. One of them is, can you pass on to us one of your Spinal Tap moments? Like
Yeah.
where shit went really awry, really
Yeah,
badly.
we just had wow.
Yeah.
That had to be Athens, Greece.
Yeah, in Greece, yeah. I've told the story before, but it's true. We were in Athens, Greece, and Phil Mogg, it was the last show, and Phil Mogg was not holding up well at all. He was kind of, he'd been doing a lot of drinking. Yeah, he's in rough shape. I love Phil, but he was under a lot of pressure. And most of the time he's singing with the mic down by his side, lights out, and one. And I was jumping in and singing a lot of the parts because, just to kind of back him. I did the same with David Lee Roth a lot of time because they have similar range. I would sing while he is, doing his thing. We would be singing the parts anyway, and I'd grab his note of the harmony. And so I was trying to sing as best I could to try to cover. The audience was getting pissed off, and they start throwing shit. And they're like, these guys, he's not singing the song right and stuff like that. So shit starts flying up on stage. The little mini whiskey bottles, and one of them hits you in your face. You could put your eye out, or you could die from it. Some big bottles were coming up there. So I go back by my amp. I said, I'll be back here. Thank you very much. So I'm back by my amp in the safety zone playing. And Phil comes over to me, and he's staggering. He goes, Billy, if we come up the front of the stage, I think we can get them. And I said, okay. So I go up to the front of the stage with Phil there, and all of a sudden, bang! Now, somebody had blown off an M80 before, and I thought I got hit with an M80. I thought an M80 blew up it hit my forehead. And I kept playing. I didn't stop playing. And I went over to the side of the stage, and the crew guys were there, and they got a flashlight. Come here. And I feel, and there's blood for sure. And I go, what happened? Was it an M80? He goes, no, it was somebody taking a European beer can, which are usually big and made of actual metal, mashed it down to the size of a hockey puck and thrown it from about 25 yards out and caught me right in the head and it was bleeding. And so I'm feeling the blood. And I said to the guys, "You guys, is it bleeding?" And they look at each other and they go, "Should we tell them?" Yes, it's bleeding. So I went back, finished the show, and the next day I was on a flight home anyway. So that was the end of that. But yeah, so I always remember that my Greek experience with UFO. That was fun.
Wow. So how about, we've all, you've been a musician for many, many years, and you go through gear, we all buy different guitars and amps and stuff. How about the one piece of gear that got away? Maybe it was stolen, maybe you sold it, or, something. Do you have that one piece of gear that you wish you had back?
There's a lot. I had the full complement of early Ampeg basses, meaning the stand-up baby bass, the Longhorn bass, the clear acrylic bass. Yeah. When I was in Buffalo, I was broke. I had a lot of great stuff, and I had to sell it because that's what I meant towards the end there. It was pretty precarious. I didn't know. I still had my check register, balance $80, rent $40, balance $40.
Yeah.
Groceries $20, balance $20. And I look at it now and panic. But I had an Alembic bass, and they were one of the first handmade basses. Yeah. Stanley Clarke played one, and it was just a work of art. And I had to sell it because I paid a lot of money for it while I was gigging constantly. It was a lull. I had no money, and I had to sell that. The original Proco Rat, I had one of those. Yeah. I had a lot of great amps. I had a great old beige Mesa Boogie, single 12, one of their first run. Great. Sold that, lost that one. Fortunately, I had another one later, sold it off, but a guy in Buffalo had it. It was a friend of mine, and I traded him a guitar, and I got it back. So I got that second Mesa Boogie amp back.
Oh, good.
But there's so much gear that I've lost. I had some stuff stolen from an apartment in LA. They know when you're doing your show, and they know that you and all your friends will be at the show, so they target people's houses like an Oscar night, and they know an actor's house. They know he and all his entourage are going to be there, so they break in everybody's house. So we had a guy sitting in the hallway of my apartment as protection the night we played LA with Eat 'Em and Smile, and somebody still got into my apartment and stole my red Kramer bass, my Guild 12-string acoustic guitar, which was my pride, and I love that guitar. Couple others. I got all the serial numbers on it. Someday I should print them out and say, has anybody have these turned up at all? I know it's been 40 years, but maybe they'll turn up. But fortunately, other than that, I've never had an airline damage an instrument. I've knock on wood, and never had anything stolen from me at a gig. And I watch stuff like a hawk, though, and I'm really careful. But so it has been so bad. Not
very
so
good, very good. How about is there any new piece of gear that you're in love with, or you tried it and you said, "Oh, fuck this is terrible"? Yeah, is there anything new that's you really like, or you hate? Yeah. I know Billy loves his gear, so I figured we'd get it.
I gotta plug it in here.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So here it comes, coming at you. All right.
Whoa.
Oh, look at that.
Are you kidding me?
Man.
It's a 12-string bass.
Yeah.
And here,
Oh,
Rebel's making a rare appearance.
yeah, Rebel.
There he is.
All right.
Wow.
He's a good boy. We laugh our asses off at this cat every day.
My kids usually stop in with some sort of pet.
12-string. So almost anything you play on it sounds kind of like a song. So
Yeah. Wow.
it's this huge. Every note is a chord.
Yeah.
Wow, that is super badass.
You're not trying to take Doug Pinnick's job away now, too, right? Are you?
No, I couldn't. He's so awesome. I love Doug's playing.
I love Doug.
Yeah, so I had a riot where there's a Music Box company is the people I got it from.
Yeah.
It's not all that expensive, and it is rock solid. So
That's
I was
beautiful.
very impressed. I wanted to get one of the Tom Peterson Gretsch
Yeah.
12 strings because we played
Yeah.
Palace open up for Cheap Trick, and I saw his and I thought, man, that is. I always loved
Right.
the Gretsch instruments anyway.
Yeah.
Man, that is a gorgeous piece, all hollow body and massive.
Oh yeah, there's one.
Sounds so great. So, and we knew a guy at Gretsch, so we thought, okay, maybe we got to make some artist pricing. You know?
Yeah. Right.
So at the NAMM show, the music trade show, hey, so hey, how's it going? Gretsch guitar, okay, cool. I always love the country gentleman. Hey, oh, by the way, you know those Tom Peterson 12-string basses? And he kind of looks at me like, uh-oh. And I said, you guys do like an artist pricing on them by any chance? He goes, no, we just make them for Tom. And he goes, it's about $12,000.
Holy
said,
shit.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
They are
Wow.
the white Gretsch they do for him is outstanding.
Oh, what a masterpiece.
Yeah, you just want to. I think they have one in a case at the music zoo that
Yeah.
you just look at and just go.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Oops, here comes Rebel again.
Wow.
So
All right,
Rebel comes onto my desk to steal. There's these little. The fans always gave me these little stuffed black kitty cats. So I have them all in the house. So he jumps to grabs it, takes it in his mouth, and runs upstairs with it. So he's hilarious.
All right. So we're gonna do our last segment. The fuck
You guys are all
section.
wearing pants, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you an example because you're from New York, even though you're closer to Canada up there. Up is one of your bandmates, Richie. Obviously, you see I have his guitar here. I have pictures of him. Love the guy. You know, he's obviously a great singer, a great writer. And then
Some of your listeners might not know him as well because he's more in the jazz circle. But there's a drummer by the name of Dennis Chambers.
Okay.
Now, Dennis is the baddest cat in the land, and he is just mind-blowing. My whole life, I played a straight-up, mostly white rock bands. And so I never really played with that kind of a feel that a lot of black
Right.
drummers have. A lot of white drummers
Yeah.
have too. It's not necessarily a racial component, but there's just a thing within the culture that this guy's got this groove that is relentless, and it grabs you by the throat, and you can't escape it. So my first couple times playing with Dennis, and matter of fact, the first time we did a recording with a band I had called Niacin, B3 drums and bass, and Dennis did this fill, this mind-blowing fill, but there was something that wasn't quite right. Now I'm supposed to be the producer here, yeah, sure, and so I'm sitting there thinking I should say something. Now Dennis has played with the baddest cats in the land, the top tier of everybody. He's probably, if you ask any drummer who's the best drummer, it's Dennis Chambers. He's the man. So Dennis has this fill go by, and there's a note in it that just doesn't work for me at all. And so I think, for once, shut the fuck up. Just play it again. And I'm starting to realize what's going on. All of a sudden I realize he's right on. It's exactly right. It was me hearing it wrong. So I think, thank God. And I think my foot, and I put it in my mouth, and I shut up. But Dennis is, he's got time that is just so inspirational. So he would be my gentleman to say the F word to.
Right. Well done,
It's
Bill.
also, I also have to do the same for Steve Vai. Steve Vai is, he's quite a spectacular talent on so many levels. He really is. I mean, I love Paul Gilbert, Richie Kotzen, Tony McAlpine, all the guys I play with. So amazing. Tony's another one. Forget it. Plays a solo on his guitar while he's soloing on keyboard with fretboard.
I've seen videos of that, and just
And then it was Tony who goes something like, go A flat, and you check it. It's an A flat. You know, any little noise or sound will tell you what pitch it's in. So
Really? Perfect
So
picture.
I'm humble because I'm surrounded by guys like that, like Dennis, Steve, Richie, Paul, Tony, all these guys.
Well, you're no damn slouch yourself, Billy.
no.
I'm working on it.
Wow.
I found a YouTube channel. I'm going to learn some stuff now finally.
Yeah, don't look at ours.
Delete this. But
Yeah. So, all right, we wanted to say thanks, Billy. Hang on just for a few minutes while we wrap up and say goodbye to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Remember to hit like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are, by the way, we were on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live, and obviously it'll be able to watch.
Right, available
within
for
an hour.
everybody to watch.
Right
These-
away.
Everybody, these make great podcasts and stuff. So if you're not watching or you just want to just put it on, you don't have to watch it. These are just great shows. We're not acting. We're having a great hang with
And
our
we're
friend
idiots.
Billy Sheehan.
I dig that. Yeah, I started a YouTube channel years and years ago, but I never did anything with it. So now the other day I shot my third video, which you're going to post, but it's all the first bunch of them is more of the mechanics of guitar. How do you install a pickup? How I make my straps.
That's
I
awesome.
Yeah.
I just did how to do a fret honing job to make your bass play real easy, and then eventually I'm going to get it into more playing techniques and stuff like that. But I finally have my YouTube channel now too.
Good. We'll put a link to it down in our
Great.
description down too. And of
And
course,
if people want to find out more about you,
My
links,
my
website,
Facebook,
Facebook, and all that.
I have BillySheehan.com, but that's kind of more of a placeholder. It's mostly my Facebook personal and band, and they're both verified with a blue check mark. My Twitter and Instagram are verified also. And anybody that writes me, I spend a lot of time every day answering or responding, even if it's just a thumbs up or a like. All comments and everything that people write to me, because I am supremely grateful for everything I own, everything I have. Comes from somebody buying a T-shirt, a ticket, or a CD. So I don't forget about that. And the least I can do is respond when they're kind enough to write to me. So I do try to respond. So if anybody has a question for me directly or wants to say something or whatever, please feel free to get in touch through Facebook, Twitter, or wherever.
And now your new YouTube channel.
Yes, and tons of comments and a lot of subscribers right away. So I'm very pleased with that. It's good to see.
Well, you're
Fantastic.
been a gentleman. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Extreme honor.
My
And,
pleasure. My pleasure, Joe.
Just one thing. Any advice you want to give to inspiring musicians, bass players, that you could give them?
Learn songs and play songs. People sitting around there, well, I know this scale. Well, do you know a song? No. We got to learn a song. Play a song. Well, my early days, that's all I did. Is I got up on stage and played song after song after song after song. Worried about all the widdly stuff later. But songs are the basis of everything. You start writing early. Look at Bryan Adams. I wonder how much money Bryan Adams has.
Yeah.
He's got to be worth about $200 million.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because of the songs he writes. Amazing. And he's fantastic. Wonderful guy too. There's start learning songs. Sit down with the whole record. Sit down. I sat down with the Who's Next and played along with that 1,000 times. Sgt. Pepper's 1,000 times. Vanilla Fudge. Every record you could imagine. Pick your favorite records and play along. At first you can't get them all. Don't worry. Just keep on going. It'll come to you. But learn songs first and
Absolutely.
sing.
Sing. All right.
Fantastic.
So this is Musings, Rants, and Guitars. We'll say goodbye. Billy, hang on.
Billy, thank you very much, sir.
You guys are great. Thanks.
Bye.
I had a very
Everybody.
good time. We'll do it again.